Hello, everyone. My name is Philippa, and I'm the Managing Director of Buckinghamshire Business First. And I'm delighted to be hosting our latest edition of our Talking Heads podcast. So, with me today, I have John Wallbank from Fairhive. And John, can I just hand over to you to introduce yourself, what you do at Fairhive, and who Fairhive are?
No problem at all, Philippa. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. So, yeah, my name's John, and I'm the Assistant Director of People at Fairhive Homes. So I lead the people strategies, and I've worked here for just over 8 years. And I really enjoy working at Fairhive Homes. We're a company with a really good heart, and I feel really proud to work here. And our employees want to make a real difference. And this is demonstrated regularly by the things we achieve. So we provide nearly 8,500 affordable homes across Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire, and South Northamptonshire. And this includes 16 independent living schemes offering a variety of accommodation and facilities for our residents over the age of 60. And we're a not-for-profit landlord. And that means that all of our income is invested back into our social purpose. So we're here to support our residents, we support our communities and neighbourhoods, we maintain quality homes, and we also build new ones with the aim to create fantastic communities where people really want to live. And we were formed a while back now. It was back in July 2006 as the Vale of Aylesbury Housing Trust. And that was following the transfer of homes, garages and commercial properties from Aylesbury Vale District Council. Then in 2022, we then rebranded ourselves as Fairhive Homes. And this year, we were actually honoured to merge with Buckinghamshire Housing Association. And our two organisations operate in the same geographical area. And we're so aligned, Philippa, with our values, our culture and strategic objectives. So it was great to have the opportunity to combine our services for the benefit of our residents. And we now support over 20,000 residents, and we've got just over 300 employees, all working for the benefit of our residents and our communities. And our vision is homes for living, communities for life. And that's really what we aspire to achieve through our work as a social landlord. And I'm really proud of some of our achievements. I mean, just in the last year, our development team built more new homes than ever before. We added 197 homes to our housing stock, and many of those were for social rent. Our welfare team helped our residents claim £4.75 million in unclaimed benefits, and we've also donated nearly £90,000 to local food banks. So there's always more we can do, Philippa, but we can be really proud of our achievements to date.
Superb. And a company with a heart. I love that. And part of Buckinghamshire Business ethos is always to encourage businesses to be part of their local community, to do the right thing. We are a vital member of the local communities. 300 staff, John, that's no mean feat. Managing 300 staff, and I loved your title. What was it? Assistant Manager of People.
Assistant Director of People.
Of People.
Yeah, and our role is to inspire. You know, I'm very privileged that I work with some lovely people in our business, and my team are excellent. And then that really gives me that capacity to really be motivated, inspired around disability confidence, which is an area of personal love for myself.
Yeah. So you and I think our paths last crossed when we were at one of the Buckinghamshire's disability confident skill shows, and we were doing a little workshop around disability confident. And I remember at the time, as I prepared for that workshop, being blown away, but not in a good way, by the fact that here in the birthplace of the Paralympics, which Buckinghamshire is, we have 80, well, in back then we had 80 businesses signed up to being disability confident. And I remember sitting in that workshop thinking that's less than a quarter of 1% of all the businesses in the county. And it's actually quite, it's a really useful scheme to be a part of. And I know that you, as Fairhive, you are our only level 3 disability confident employer in the county. There's only one of you,
Yeah.
which blows me away. So that, Fairhive is a real exemplar there. And I think only by talking about disability confidence, what it brings to our organizations and how we grow with it, will other businesses understand. And I think you're an inspiration, John. So can you take us through where your journey with disability confidence started?
Yeah, of course. So it really comes back to our vision. So our vision is homes for living, communities for life, and a foundation stone of this vision is equality, diversity, inclusion. So disability confident is that it's a brilliant scheme. It's the government-led scheme, and it's designed to help employers think differently about disability. So it helps businesses attract, recruit, retain workers with disabilities. And there are 3 levels, Philippa. And yeah, and in March of this year, we were so proud of ourselves that we achieved that disability confident leader status. And that's slightly more challenging to attain, as businesses need to be independently assessed by disability experts to achieve the accreditation. So if it's trying to think, maybe if I cast my mind back around how this all started, well, I'm somebody with a disability, Philippa. So I've got type 1 diabetes, and I've had type 1 diabetes for over 30 years. Now, type 1 diabetes is a difficult condition to have. It's an autoimmune condition. So what happened is that when I was 16, my own body attacked my pancreas, and literally it now doesn't work. So there is no cure to type 1 diabetes. So I've got a lifetime of taking thousands of insulin injections to keep myself alive. And I did blood tests before I started the podcast today to make sure that my levels were in the, in the right sort of blood sugar zone. And I live with diabetes every minute of every day. I don't have a day off from having diabetes. And my brain is just full of mathematical questions all the time. I sometimes think it's like living in a permanent numbers round from Countdown on, that game show Countdown. I'm always trying to hit a blood sugar target. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to hit this blood sugar target. And sometimes it feels like trying to hit a bullseye on a dartboard, but the dartboard is always moving. So the dartboard is going further away or coming towards me. So, because diabetes is a very fluid condition to have. So I might have the same insulin injection. I might eat the same food, but then my blood sugar reacts in a different way. So I'm always thinking, right, when am I eating next? How many carbohydrates will I eat? How much insulin do I need to take? Do I still have insulin in my body from my last meal? Am I doing any exercise in the next few hours that's going to lower my blood sugar? And it is harder to live life with a disability. And I do a good job, and I want to do everything I can. I'm very lucky to have good technology now, but living with diabetes is challenging. So disability confident was so important for me because it's in our DNA as a business. And I really see this linked into who we are. I said a few minutes ago that we're a company with a good heart. And one thing I really appreciate in Fairhive is that we have psychological safety. So I can just be fully open about my diabetes. I can't pretend that I don't have diabetes. I can't put it in a box and forget about it. I really wish I could. It lives with me all the time. And it's important then in Fairhive that we can bring our full, authentic selves to work. And part of me is my diabetes. It's important that my colleagues around me know what to do in the event I become hypoglycemic. And this all started really for me because the lead at the Department of Work and Pensions, Ben, shared a few stats with me. And also I saw the stats from the Office of National Statistics. So we've got so much to do to support people in the UK with disabilities. So 1 in 5 of us are going to have an accessibility need in our lifetime. And almost 20% of the population is disabled, which is 14 million people. Now, the Disability Confidence Scheme will support employers to make the most of the talents people with disabilities can bring to a workplace. And this is so key, and this is probably one of the most important stats that we'll talk about. There's a UK disability employment gap of 29.8%. Now that means that only 52.6% of people of working age, now working age is classified between the age of 16 and 64, so 52.6% of people of working age with a disability are in work in the UK. That is compared to 82.4% of people in work without a disability. So really, I suppose that was this foundation stone for me, Philippa, a few years ago, where I heard the stats, I read the stats, I thought about how we can make more of a difference within Fairhive. And I think there's some really major benefits for the Disability Confidence Scheme for businesses. I can share a few, if you want me to share a few now, around what those benefits are. So firstly, there are commercial benefits. So people with disabilities are likely to be loyal customers. They'll return to your businesses. They'll return to business they know are welcoming. They'll return to businesses they know will cater for their needs. So people with disabilities have family and friends. And so when a business welcomes somebody with a disability, it also welcomes the wider social group. And why is that important? Well, commercially, people with disabilities, their families, their friends, have a combined annual spending power of £274 billion. Now, in Fairhive, we have got extremely low employee turnover. Our turnover is at upper quartile levels in our sector. And I think a key component of that is how we support our employees, our psychological safety, and the fact that we have an inclusive culture. And the latest figures outlining the cost per employee, if an employee leaves a company, is £38,000. And that includes the time to recruit and train a new employee. And I think if we look after our employees with disabilities, arguably that turnover is going to reduce. And we can see that evidence within our business. I think a second really key benefit of the scheme is that recruiting and retaining people with disabilities creates that workforce that reflects the diverse range of customers we serve and our communities. So as you shared earlier, in Buckinghamshire, just over 13% of our population state that we're disabled. And I'm proud that in Fairhive, we employ 28 employees who've declared they have a disability, which is nearly 10% of our workforce. That means our colleagues with disabilities are involved with decision making in Fairhive. And I think that is so key to ensure our workforce diversity reflects our residents and reflects our communities. Again, Deloitte shared a study, and that states that employees who felt included and thought their company values diversity were 80% more likely to say they worked for a high-performing organisation. And then I think lastly, the scheme really will help, and employing people with disabilities really helps your reputation and brand. So last week, we were privileged enough to support 2 students from the Pebblebrook School, which obviously is a lovely local school in Aylesbury, who specialise in supporting children with special educational needs and disabilities. And it was just fantastic having these students with us. And this inspires our colleagues to want to do more. And I spoke with both students, and they were so grateful to have the opportunity of working in Fairhive, that week of work experience. And the students might well tell their friends, they might well tell their families about their positive experience. And employees in the UK want to work for good, ethical companies. Employees talk about where they work. I do all the time. Employee advocacy is so key. And we know there's 957,000 vacancies at the moment in the UK. We're living in such a candidate-led market. So employees really want to work for good, ethical companies. So I think embracing disability confidence can really support you with that.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, John, but that 10% of your employee base, that's 10% that feel comfortable declaring that they've got a disability. I think in lots and lots of companies, there isn't an awareness actually of the hidden disability that is within their workforce, where people are really trying to perform despite a lot of challenges. And I think what I've come to learn is that a lot of disabilities, people with disabilities within the workforce, are very, very effective. Their disability comes from the environment, their disability is enhanced if the environment that they're working in doesn't make certain accommodations or certain alterations for them. Now, John, in Buckinghamshire, I have no doubt that businesses are not purposefully not doing the right thing. You know, I don't believe that businesses, you know, with malice aforethought are shying away from employing disabled people. But I think that there's a lack of knowledge or confidence in terms of doing the right thing, saying the right thing, knowing how to make adjustments. And I think the Disability Confidence Scheme, number one, it took us a little while to find it, but having found it, a bit like yourselves, constantly trill about it. But it really does help employers, doesn't it? In terms of you can ask anything, you get access to support. So what support do you think it's brought to your organisation, and who has it introduced you to that's made life a bit easier for your employees?
I think the support Disability Confident offer is really, really good. And one thing that you can use is that there is a sort of spreadsheet of good tasks that you can do. And very, very early on, we did that within our business. And, you know, we know that we do a really good job and we believe in this, but there's always more that we can do. And one of the things that I really learned from this, you know, task of good activities is around your sort of HR practices to make sure they're really good. And one thing we actually did is that we changed our recruitment processes because of the Disability Confidence Scheme. And what we do now is that on all of our adverts, whenever we would like to attract anybody within Fairhive, we've actually got a recruitment disclaimer on every advert, Philippa, and that says, as part of our continued commitment to our workforce accurately reflecting the community we represent, we welcome applicants who have a status as an individual with a physical or mental disability. So we're really out there showing that we actively welcome people with disabilities to apply. And also, when our applicants have applied and have been going through the sort of HR processes, we ask all of our applicants whether they need any reasonable adjustments during the recruitment process, and they're always accommodated. But then we commit to offering an interview to an applicant with a disability if they meet 50% of the shortlisting criteria. So this effectively is best practice out there, Philippa, and that really helped us guide how we recruit within Fairhive, which I thought has been really good. I think the support offered on the scheme is exceptional. So there is a team led by Ben Stykuch at the Department of Work and Pensions, and I've had a number of meetings with Ben and his Disability Confident advisors, and they're supportive, engaging. They've got that arm of support around you. So, you know, there's lots of people out there who are helpful, Philippa. I think it's just we can really share our contacts after the podcast, and then we can really help and strengthen our approach. I would like to mention one charity, again, that was introduced through the scheme, and that's the Talkback team. And Talkback, for me, are one of the most inspirational charities in Buckinghamshire. Earlier on, I shared we have a disability employment gap in the UK of 29.8%. But that employment rate gap really depends on the condition you have. So overall, 52.6% of people with disability are in work. So, for example, with my own condition, diabetes, there's an employment rate in the UK with diabetes of 60%, which is better than average, 52.6. But I still find that really heartbreaking that only, you know, 6 out of 10 people of working age with diabetes are actually in work in the UK. The condition with the lowest employment rate in the UK is autism. And that is why I'm so inspired by all the amazing work Talkback achieved. Now, Talkback is an autism and learning disability charity. And they're such a force for good because only 16% of the autistic population in the UK are employed, Philippa, despite 77% of the autistic population stating that they want to work. And Talkback believes that everybody with the right support can find employment. And that could be maybe through gaining work experience, maybe by doing part-time work, or full-time paid employment. And people with learning disabilities and autism offer so many advantages for employers, just as you articulated earlier on. And there is clear evidence to support that. But above everything else, people with learning disabilities and autism deserve the same opportunities as everybody else. And we've partnered with Talkback since our first introduction a few years ago now. And in this time, Talkback has raised awareness about autism in Fairhive, and we're so lucky to hear firsthand from Nicola about what life is like living with autism. And Nicola shared such an inspiring session with our employees. We've also created a supported internship for Thomas, and Thomas worked in our IT team for a whole academic year. And Thomas gained such invaluable IT experience, he strengthened his CV. We also ran interview skills training with Thomas, all increasing his employability potential. And then Marcus joined our caretaking team this year, and he worked 1 day a week with us for 5 weeks. And Marcus learned new skills. He was building bird boxes in our community and bug houses. And Marcus so enjoyed his time with it. He described it as a great experience. And we've now got Arjan starting with us soon, working 3 days a week in our IT team as well. Talkback are an amazing charity in Buckinghamshire, Philippa, and just if we maybe share those details after the podcast, please reach out.
So I'm blown away by the depth of your involvement, John, with Disability Confident. What I think we should point out to any business leader who's listening to this podcast, participating in the Disability Confidence scheme is free at the initial sign up stage where you become a disability confident employer. There are 3 levels, and you can work your way through those 3 levels as you become more confident as an employer yourself. And it speaks volumes that we only have 1 level 3. So there is much to do. I spoke about, less than 1% of our businesses signed up to the scheme. We need to get that to at least 1% within the next 18 months. It is just such a wasted opportunity, because the folks who have got disabilities, it's far easier than you realize as a business leader to accommodate people with different needs. I often talk in our organization about my perfectly imperfect team, and that's because we've all got different skill sets, we've all got different lenses that we look at things through, and Disability Confident is level in terms of nurturing every single individual for who they are and what they can bring to the organization. And as you said, John, I think we will absolutely put links through to Talkback, to supported internships, and to the Disability Confidence scheme, all the support that is available to take a business on this journey. You're not on your own, and there's everything to gain and nothing to lose from stepping towards it. I don't know what you think, John, but I don't think there's any downside.
There isn't. And again, if I think about what we've achieved over recent years, I'm really proud about that. One of the key things that we've got a very inclusive culture in Fairhive that's got really psychological safety. And one of the key things around in businesses, who are those positive role models? Who are those? Where are we going to find those positive stories? So, think about, are there any senior leaders in your businesses who will be open about sharing their disability? Because if leaders do it, if managers do it, then that creates that open culture for others to share their stories. And a few years ago, I shared a video. It was a really authentic video just about living life with type 1 diabetes. I think it was on World Diabetes Day. And on the back of that resulted in me having a couple of coffees with other colleagues who have got type 1 diabetes. And we sort of got together and supported each other. But then following my video, many others have followed. For instance, one of our employees shared his story about being deaf on International Deaf Day. And it was so well received, Philippa, by our colleagues. And so really think about how you can create that psychological safety. So employees with disabilities in your businesses openly share they have a disability.
Yeah. John, I could talk and talk for hours on this subject, but I think we might need to have a second instalment at some point, because I'm really conscious that we've come to the end of our time. I can't thank you enough for your openness and just for being so authentic about your own condition, but B, Fair Hive and what you're doing. So thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Cheers, John. Bye.
Bye-bye.